She did everything right. She was the wife, the mother, the anchor of the household. She built her life around her marriage. And then, almost without warning, that marriage began to fall apart. No paycheck with her name on it, no independent credit, no roadmap, no idea where to even start. If that sounds like your life right now, you'll want to hear what my guest has to say because Kristen Becker has sat in that exact chair. She's coached the women who feel like they have nothing left. And she has watched them with the right tools and with the right mindset and the right strategy completely transform their next chapter. Today, we're going to be talking about gray divorce, high conflict divorce, and the thing nobody warns stay-at-home moms about before the papers get filed. This is not a theory episode. This is a blueprint. Welcome back. Welcome to Divorcing Strong, the podcast that pulls no punches when it comes to divorce. I'm Becky Sampson, better known as Bulldog Becky Brockovich, and I'm here to give you the straight talk, the strategies, and the subpoena secrets you won't hear anywhere else. With expert guests and proven advice, you'll learn your rights, your options, and gain your power that encourages a fair and equitable outcome. Divorce doesn't have to break you. It can build you. Let's get to it. Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Divorcing Strong podcast. And Thursdays are kind of my days now. You guys get a full load of podcasts if you're watching us on Facebook and also Instagram and LinkedIn. If you would like to, you can also join us on the audio now. That is, we're leaking. I think we're probably dropping maybe 2 or 3 episodes a week. So you can listen to on the audio side of it. But please, if you'd like, please like and subscribe and share these episodes because I'm starting to get calls from a lot of different people that have watched these and have learned some things and being able to be connected with other professionals that help you navigate through this legal process. And I do have to share just for a moment that there was a client of mine this week that I'm helping her through her divorce. And divorce is heavy. It can be very, very heavy at times. And especially for us professionals that are here to support you through it, we also have to take care of ourselves, right? And so I had a moment, I was just telling our guests right before we came on, is that I had a moment where I literally had to go in the backyard after hearing a lot of stories. And I remember, believe me, I feel it, I get it. And I remembered like it was yesterday, what it feels to feel so powerless in a divorce. And my sweet husband came home and I was on the back lawn, just sprawled out. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm grounding. I'm grounding." So that helps you at any stage of divorce or any stage of life, really. That's one of the things is I wanted to be touching the earth. I wanted to be grounded so that I could then pick myself back up and start working again with one of my clients. Cause it's just, it can be a heavy thing at times. So self-care is by far one of the most important aspects. So, and our guest today, I'm so excited because she was one of the first people that I met when I got into this space about 1.5 years ago, maybe about a year, few months, and we connected. And I'm glad that I'm finally getting her on the show today because she has such an amazing story and she helps so many people through this high conflict divorce, if that's something that you're dealing with. So today's guest is proof that most powerful transformation happens not despite the hardest season, but directly because of them. Kristen Becker is a certified divorce coach who specializes in 2 of the most underserved, underrepresented divorce experiences, which is gray divorce, which if you don't know what that is, that means people with my hair, older, and the heartbreak of marriage ending later on in life. After decades of shared identity and financial interdependence and high conflict divorce, where navigating your legal case is only half of the battle, then managing your emotional sanity is the other half. Kristen works as a strategic partner, not just as a support system. She helps her clients think clearly when everything feels chaotic, make empowered decisions when everything feels impossible, and build the next chapter of their lives from a position of clarity, confidence, and hard-won wisdom. Her guiding symbol is a dragonfly, a creature that represents change, transformation, and self-realization. And she has built her entire coaching practice around one belief, that divorce, no matter how devastating, can become the turning point that leads you to the life you were always meant to live. So, Kristen, I literally have been looking forward to this conversation for a while because of my own high conflict divorce. So, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've always loved what you stand for and your energy. So I'm super excited to be here and to
Thanks.
share a little bit of my story. So.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I know, all of us are really, before we had the show, we were talking about how difficult this space can be. However, we stay in this space because we know that there are people out there that need us and that need to know that they're going to be okay after this.
Right.
The whole point is divorcing strong, right?
Right.
So before we dive in, I love to ask the question, start my podcast off with, is what got you to this point? Because none of us really grew up young going, hey, we're going to be in the divorce space.
No, 100%. I actually just was sharing that with a client just a little bit ago. Is like, I never expected to be an expert in divorce. I believe in marriage. I'm a Minnesota farm girl, born and raised, mom and dad still married 57 years, all the stuff. And that is what I wanted. I wanted that happy ending. And at what cost, I think, is what I realized. I was a stay-at-home mom. I died to self. It was like, we're nurturers as moms. We're nurturing our husbands. We're nurturing their careers. We're nurturing, and I finally saw that I needed to walk away. And when I did that, it was almost immediate that it got better for me. Because I was no longer in that eggshell space or a thumb on my head. All the different things that you feel when you're in a controlling, overpowering marriage or relationship, two different heights. Like he's in control and I was not. And
by the way, a lot of people feel that way. I mean, there's a lot. I think the statistic is 44% of women coming out of divorce end up in financial poverty, and you're that statistic, right?
Mm-hmm. The imbalance was very different. I mean, I knew he was a very good provider, and I'm very grateful for that. And I remember I'm the kind of person that I always looked for the best in things. So he provides for us. We have 4 healthy children. It was those things that I would keep me in the fight, and my faith was also a big part of that. Kept me in the fight. I had my vows before God and my family and friends, and so I wasn't a quitter. I didn't want to quit on this. But what I realized after I finally was able to have COVID magnified it for us, what was wrong. Because I threw myself into my kids. I threw myself into coaching and doing all the stuff that stay-at-home moms do. And when all of that was taken away and we didn't have those escapes, it just magnified what was wrong. And I did have the courage to walk away. I knew I would be okay because he provided for us. He, it was just going to be different. And immediately the peace that I felt was night and day within a couple months. I had a complete stranger walk up to me at Trader Joe's during COVID. We're wearing masks and said, I just want to tell you, your eyes are sparkling.
Aww.
And that was within 2 months of this, of me walking.
I call that a God drop, right? God.
That's what I'm saying. It like happened kind of right away. And I was just like, the peace was so real, and we know what our truth is when we're in those marriages. I mean, I believe in marriage. I wanted that happily ever after. Unfortunately, he was incapable of giving me that. And the more I kept quiet, the easier it was, but I continued to lose who I was. And I would say 4 years post-divorce, when I went and visited my mom and dad in Minnesota, my mom said, we finally have our daughter back. Because you're rebuilding your confidence back of like who we were when we got married, the things that we used to like thrive and do. Did I ever expect to do divorce coaching? No. But as I was going through my divorce, my attorney actually said to me, he goes, Kristen, I don't know what you're doing, but you're very calm. And anytime there's a delay or he's postponing or any of the things that is happening. You just, okay. And he said, so whatever you're doing, I could use your help with our more emotional clients in the office. And
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's cool. How would that look? And I was just so excited because I was trying to figure out, what do I do now? I was a mom. That's what, and so my friend said, what if you could get certified in that?
Mm.
And that's when I found, here's another God drop. That happened on a Thursday. I searched divorce coaching over the weekend and found the certified divorce coaching platform that I am certified in was starting their next pod of
Mm.
trainers the following Tuesday. So on Sunday, I seriously was having like butterfly moment of like, okay, God, this is what I'm supposed to do. And my son is visiting this weekend, and he's 25 and he was 22 at the time,
Mm.
and said, Mom, I'm so proud of you. You're taking the pain that you've used and you're using it to serve others. And I just thought, we don't know why we have to go through these hard things, but I'm not stuck in my story.
Yeah.
Because when I work with somebody, I can see them lifted, and that feels good. So,
Well, you're just
yeah.
holding the space. I love that. You're holding the space
Mm-hmm.
and you're creating that calmness for them, because it can be really difficult,
Right.
especially when they feel completely powerless in their situation. And
Right.
she's right. She saw your talent, your gift, your
Right.
superpower.
Yeah. Right. No, I love it. And it fits. I was trying to do life insurance sales, and I was like, I believe people need life insurance, but I wasn't passionate about it. So
Yeah.
this is like, oh, I can build this. This is something that makes sense to me. This is actually how I'm wired. So, and I wasn't able to use my voice in my marriage. So I think on the other side of it,
Mm.
the more I was able to just be me and share my story and saw how it was helping people, I was like, okay, there is a platform for this. And when I work with my clients, I'm very, very careful about, it's not about my story,
Mhm.
but in the consultation, I'll share a little bit about it so that they understand I've been through it.
Yeah.
But it's really about them feeling comfortable sharing with me because I get it. And
Mm.
then I can give them the resources that I have because of the connections like yourself and the other divorce professional groups I'm a member of. So,
Yeah, I always say this. I love being in the divorce space because all of us are really coming from a place of heart. We're coming from a
mm-hmm.
place of serving, and you're exactly that way. And it's really, really important that you do have somebody. Now, there are some people in this space that have never been through divorce, or maybe they were
Yes.
affected by divorce. But typically, it's usually people that have been through difficult things and say, "Hey, I know I can help, and I'm going
Right.
to turn around and extend my hand." And support. So when people first start working with you, what do you see are some of the challenges that they bring to the table?
I think the biggest thing that people find when they're going through this process initially, especially if you're coming from a great divorce, not expected, even if you're the one leaving, it's still an unexpected thing because nobody gets married to walk away.
Right.
So it's still an unwanted thing. So just the fact that you have to go through the emotions, the grief of
Mhm.
your happily ever after isn't going to be there. And that reality is a big thing. I always use a triangle of divorce is three things: it's emotional, it's legal, and it's financial. Well, 80% of that is that emotional piece. And
Mhm.
oftentimes that's the part that people forget to work on. So for me, it's about, guess what? Life is going to throw you curveballs. It's just going to.
Mhm.
They say death and taxes are the only things that you can be guaranteed. Well, I can throw another one in there. There's going to be a curveball. You're going to have to go through something hard,
Right.
whatever that is. And for me, it was initially the divorce. And then during my divorce, I actually went through a breast cancer journey.
Mm.
And that was another curveball. And I was like, are you serious, God? What else do you need me
Right.
to do? But at the same time, when I started opening up about that journey with my clients as well, they were able to actually see, wait, she can do hard things.
Mhm.
I know she can help me do this because you're going to get to the other side of your divorce. You will, because people always do. You just don't know how muddy your journey is going to be. And having somebody that is a strategic partner who can give you a lifeline here and there, I think is really important. And I stay in my emotional lane. I definitely do, but I do know people like Becky who does subpoenas. I do know people like Victoria who does CDFAs and many others in those spaces that you need to talk to this person. And then all of a sudden they just feel so much more supported versus venting to your mom, who will definitely get on your side and say, yeah, he's kind of an asshole, or whatever, but it doesn't help.
Well, you bring up a really great point, because all of us, and a lot of us are in a lot of little networking groups supporting each other. When you come to one of us, we will bring you to somebody else, right?
Right.
Like if it's not something that we can help with or
connected.
that you need specialty on, I love being able to say, hey, reach out to my network and be like, hey, can you take this guy, this person with their case, or go and research about that? And especially with forensics, financial forensics. I mean, people
Right.
come to me all the time because they need to uncover the hidden assets. But I'm not usually necessarily the one that does all the forensics around it. So yeah, I love that we're very resourceful and
Right.
we're very collaborative.
And we didn't know what we didn't know in our own process. Right. It's like, I know I left, there's a couple things that I made decisions on during my own divorce process. We had a business. And I found my home, and there's processes that we went through, and we went through collaborative initially. We made some agreements, but when I came into making the agreement about our home and the home that I was hoping to purchase, he's like, well, before we talk about that, we're going to give the value of our business. I'm like, well, that's not what we came in to talk about today. So it kind of got bulldozed into that situation. So I made a decision that day thinking I made it right. 3 years later, I met a business valuations analyst in a meeting where they were giving a presentation. And he's like, well, so when you're going through a divorce, the business is valued at a future value, not at a current fair market value. And I just had this huge, like, oh shit, 3 years ago, I probably left between $500 and $1 million on the table. But at that time, I also got my home in that transaction and that negotiation. And if I look back, and this is what I work with my clients about, there's not one single dollar amount that I could put on the fact that I had that peace and boundary during that last 3 years of my life. So yeah, I lost some money in that negotiation, but I had boundaries, I had peace. And when I'm working with my clients, I try to talk through and let them kind of emotionally, I guess, vomit on me. And we like bullet point all of that out to see what's important and if it's worth that fight or worth what they're going through or not. And so I think it's important. Roundabout way of answering your question, but that emotional piece, if you don't have support of somebody who actually gets the divorce process, you'll make emotionally charged, good or bad, financial and legal decisions. And so having that support can help you slow down the process. Unless there's domestic violence or something like that you're dealing with, slow the process down and get the information is what I always tell my clients, because you didn't get here overnight. I know. Don't be in a hurry.
Amen to that, girl, because I always say on this podcast, probably the most important thing, at least for me, in my case, was having the right information so that I could make the right decisions.
Right.
That's all I wanted. I wasn't here to take anything or steal anything or create more.
100%.
And in my case, it just wasn't provided to me. So I went the subpoena route, and the subpoenas were able to give me every single thing I needed. And so I do love that and you actually, the thing that brought to my mind when you said that, you can call your mom, but your mom may not know all the little intricacies of a divorce, whereas a divorce coach does. They've been through it. They've worked with the attorneys typically, or not the attorneys, or the mediators, or they've worked with the forensics, or they've worked with, all of these people that we're connected to. And I love that we're all just doing our best to try to reach the people that need to find us, because most of us had no idea that there wasn't even a community out there.
Absolutely. I certainly didn't. I know, like I said, it's a really neat community to be a part of, and I'll be transparent here that my case actually didn't settle until December of 25.
Wow.
We were able to settle a whole bunch of pieces in the collaborative space, but you mentioned at the very beginning, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was financially restricted to what I was allowed to have monthly. And so he's like, well, you lived off of this. You can live off of this for your support number. And the state of California saw it differently. And I knew that. So that's when I left and hired my own attorney from the collaborative side. And it took that long to go through it. Part of the reason it took a long time is because we didn't have domestic violence. We didn't have a custodial issue. So when our case came up to trial, it kept getting postponed because those other cases came in front. But it makes me very hungry to help my clients stay out of the courtroom.
Exactly.
So I am searching for those resources to help them get the information they need so they can just find a settlement and stop this. You're not in control of the calendar if you litigate. You're not in control of those things. So it's finding your voice, remembering that your attorney works for you, reminding them that you know your spouse better than the attorney does.
Yep.
So all those things. And I think people go through this space thinking, I'm just going to hire my attorney. They're going to take care of it. And
we talk about that so much on the podcast. It's like I say, don't marry the first divorce attorney you meet, because it's a relationship that's really, really important. You need to be able to work together. And you brought up a really good point is that it just is, you do not want to go to litigation. Like mine was highly litigated, 21 hearings in 3.5 years. And I was representing myself for most of that. And I would never wish that upon anyone. I learned a lot about the court, what works, what doesn't work, what judges are looking for, what they're not looking for.
Right.
If you can do that outside of the court and have people really help you navigate through that, and whether they're the mediator or whatever you choose, or arbitration, those kind of things, it is so much easier to do settlements that way. And then you're walking away feel more empowered than giving your power to someone that really doesn't, at the end of the day, really doesn't care about those things that matter to you. And you said something very important. The attorney works for them. The attorney doesn't, the attorney works for the divorcee, not the other way around. Because it feels
and I think it does. And I remember specifically in my case, he wanted to depose my ex-husband. And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. And he's like, no, this is what I do. And I go, well, not in my case, because
good for you.
For one, I knew how much that was going to cost. And for two, it was like, he's going to get an idea of the kind of questions he's going to be asked, and then he'll be able to prepare for them. And I said, I just knew my person it was going to be easier for us just to, like, he doesn't need to know. We have the data, because I had my financial expert with the data already. So there was no reason to spend that money and that time on that. So I think people need to feel like they're in control of their divorce, and you can be when you have the knowledge of it.
So you just said it very, very important.
Happened during my divorce.
Yeah, very, very important. You've got to know.
I got certified during my process.
Yeah. And it's something that. There's a choppy. Sorry about that you have to know the rules of the game, okay, so to speak, of divorce in order to know how to play. And I don't like the analogy of divorce as a game, but it really is. And that's the reason why, if you don't know what your rights are, then you have no rights.
Right.
And you can't stand up for yourself.
Well, and I think I find, because of my story, I tend to gravitate, a lot of the clients that gravitate towards me are those stay-at-home moms or those gray divorced women who have played that nurturing role in the family and didn't have their own career. And I think it's really important to empower yourself with knowledge, because I wasn't trying. I think he would sometimes share the narrative that she's trying to take me to the cleaners.
Yep.
No, I just wanted what was rightfully mine, because I'm a mom of 4 kids. I wanted to continue being able to be that mom to those kids and be able to say yes when I knew I could financially do certain things with them or not. I just wanted what was rightfully mine. And we could have probably negotiated that down much less had he been a team player in the process. But he didn't want to share the cost of college. He didn't want to share the cost of these different things. So when those things came up, I'm like, okay, well then I do need to for what's rightfully mine, because I don't want those kids to suffer for something that we made a promise to them for. And
What was
so
what was the process that you went through to do that? Because I find that a lot of women in this kind of situation, and it happened to me too, where we're not the providers, right?
yes.
And so we then think, oh, it's okay. I mean, then the narrative is told to us that, oh, you're just a gold digger, or you're just trying to take me to the cleaners, which was never the truth.
Right.
Talk about that process that you went through to go from I'm a nurturer, I'm a mother, stay at home, and I deserve my share.
I think it's important to recognize that as a stay-at-home mom, I helped him build his business.
Exactly.
You know, he's very successful at what he does. I took care of the kids. I took care of the doctor's appointments, the house. He would come home to a meal. He would be supported in all of his different things that he wanted to do. And I encourage, when I was out there on the soccer field, I would say, you need to talk to my husband. You know, I was doing that whole thing in the
Right.
community and being a part of it. So I was always wanting to, because that's what we did. I mean, like I said, I was raised on a farm in Minnesota. My mom was part of the farm family. It's what we did. So I really did. And I worked part-time in the office near the end of the marriage. But I think finding your value of, like, I didn't have a paycheck when I got my house. I couldn't get a mortgage because I didn't have a paycheck in my name for 25 years. You know, and that was a big thing. I was like, oh shoot, I have to, like, how am I going to get this house?
Right.
So, but when I in some ways was grateful because I worked in the office, I kind of knew, and he was a financial guy. So I knew where our money was, and I knew where my name was on the accounts. I wasn't allowed to touch it, you know, because of the control piece. But like I said, I knew I was going to be okay. I just knew it was going to be different.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to talk to my clients about, is like, even getting to the other side of it, it's turbulent trying to settle that in. My 25-year-old is home now, and we were chit-chatting on the way home. He goes, Mom, it was hard at the beginning, because I didn't like to see Dad in pain either. And I never wanted that. You know, I didn't want my kids to have to watch him in pain or me in pain. I still, when the kids would come home from college, I wanted them to be able to just come home. And it's like, where do I unpack my car?
Right.
I don't know, you know, things like that. And I'm like, wherever you want to, I'm here, you know. And they usually would end up unpacking at my house because I made it so easy, versus being, you know. So we talk about that. My experience really does navigate towards those moms that have been at home, and like, I'm like, you don't have to throw Dad under the bus. You're not trying to do that. They are half of him, you know. And even having that conversation today with my son was like, you've pulled the good stuff out of Dad. He's very good at business. You're very good at business. You just can't run a family that way.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
and then you said something earlier, and I actually pulled out my easy button because you're like, I can do hard things, right? Divorce is hard. I've never brought my easy button on the show.
Oh, I love that.
But
that was easy.
Yeah,
right.
I used to be a property manager, and I used to do a lot of evictions, unfortunately. And my girlfriend bought me the easy button because she's just like, and I've always had an easy button in my life, because it's like sometimes things are so hard. It was so hard sometimes to sit across from the table of these students and be like, sorry, you're out of here. And then when they leave my office, I'm like, that was easy. And I'm like, same thing. It's just like, you know, divorce and the hard parts, and keeping the family together, and not wanting to retaliate, and still having your heart soft towards them, and being able to keep the family together and the kids. And it can be very difficult. It can be very difficult.
And I think the hardest part about that process is you're going to still go through, there's this little chart of emotions I use. You're going to have to go through the grieving, and you're going to move through it like this. You're going to get, and soon you're going to be over here. And then all of a sudden a Christmas will come and you're going to be back here again, because I was bringing emotions back. But knowing that 90% of the time it's 100% better, because I'm living, I think we started at the beginning of this, we're designed with gifts within us. And when you're in a relationship that you are not allowed to be all of you. You're being stifled. And so as soon as I got to the other side of this, I'm like, my voice came out. I was able to like share and be, and I'm like, I'm doing the stuff that I was meant to do.
Yeah.
And I know that, and it feels really good. I'm making an impact with the clients I work with, and I can see it when I work with them. And that matters to me. I didn't ever expect at 51 years old when I left to build a new business at this time. I didn't expect it, but God has his own master plan.
Yep.
And I did get through the divorce. It took longer. You're not climbing that mountain in one day. You're taking steps, but it's okay to be human. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to like have those moments. I have a lot of my clients will send me a text message and say, I just got this text. How do I respond? And I'm like, I think there's no response on that one. And she's like, oh, no response is a response. And so,
and it's okay. It's okay. That's I think I love that you're a lifeline. And I always say the lifeline is so important because so many times it doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m, 3 a.m. I mean, my one client was she's so funny. She's like, I really want to be respectful of your boundaries. I'm like, no, I get it. And I'll respond when I can. And if I can,
same.
You know what I mean?
Same.
That's my boundary, but you're welcome to send it anytime.
Yeah. I do the same thing where they have access to me. And I said, if I can get to you, I will.
Yes.
But my phone is off at night, but I'll get it when I wake up in the morning. I have a little part-time gig too that I work with. I work at the airport part-time, and I love to brainstorm with my clients about some of these things that you never thought you would do. And just last night while I was at the airport, I work and I marshal in airplanes. I push them out. I load the cargo, the baggage, and do all that. And I do it part-time because my daughters were juniors in high school at the time and said, Mom, I want to go to Hawaii for our senior trip. And I was like, I can't afford that. Sorry. But one of their soccer moms worked at the airport. So I got a little part-time gig and I worked the night shift. And so last night I pushed out this 737. I was pushing them out and doing this, and I did a video of it. I'm like, I'm kind of a badass. But the thing is, it's things as a single mom or a stay-at-home mom, I didn't know that was on my bucket list, but I absolutely love it. And it's very empowering to be able to do that kind of job. So I always try to let's think outside the box to the limit of this is what I'm doing now. And so I do walk my talk with my clients. I think as a coach, it's like having that lived experience of like, you know what, it was hard when the kids were at their dad's. I'm a stay-at-home. I didn't want to do that. That's not what I wanted. It was hard, but it also allowed me to focus on my next chapter.
Life is hard.
Who I wanted to be. Yeah.
Life is hard at any level, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids, whether you've never been married. I mean, it's
all of it.
All of it. And it's just so important that, we keep the perspective of taking it one day at a time and being able to look forward instead of looking back.
100%.
That back is sometimes, but I always say, don't ever look back unless you're looking back to see how far you've come.
Oh, that's a great one. I love that.
Isn't that great? Maybe I should put that on a t-shirt. I had a guy call me yesterday. He's like, do you want to put a t-shirt? Do you want to do a whole apparel thing on your website? I'm like, you know what? I always have these little t-shirt ideas.
Little snippets. Yeah.
Divorce dating doesn't work until it does. And then there was another one that was like, oh, I'm patient until I'm not. Divorcing strong. It's like
one of the things I've always done with my kids from the get-go, and even my middle boy just did a presentation for his work and said, Mom, I had the whole audience saying your phrase, and it's, if it is to be, it's up to me. And it's a simple reminder. And I know it's not my phrase, but it's what I always have said to the kids. And it's like, ultimately, even when I went through the cancer journey, it's like nobody would have questioned me staying in bed all day. Yeah. But how is that going to serve me? So remembering that ultimately it's up to you to take that step to what's going to bring you joy that day. And
that's so funny because as a teenager, I had that phrase right there. If it is to be, it's up to me. It was on a little plastic. I just had a total brain, going back into the past.
Deja vu moment.
Yeah. I'm sitting there going, oh, that's right. It was up on my my little shelf that I had in my bedroom. And at a very young age, I used to say that all the time. And it's true.
Yeah.
We have the power to create whatever we want to from whatever we've been through.
Right.
It really depends on what you choose to do and the support that you can get around you. So how do people find you? Because we've got your website right there.
Yes.
They can go to you.
Yes, I do. The divorcerecoverycoach.com is probably the best way to find me and all of my resources. I'm on Instagram. All of my social media handles are at the top of my website. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. But one thing I do want to share is I love empowering women with information.
Yes.
So I just started in January being a licensed person for Second Saturday workshops. So I'm hosting Second Saturday workshops, which this platform has been around for over almost 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is, they're workshops giving information to women on the legal, financial, and emotional pieces of divorce through a panel. And quote unquote, they're not just on Saturdays anymore. I don't want my Saturday taken up by doing a workshop. So I'm doing them on Monday evenings every month, the second Monday of the month.
What are they called?
The Second Saturday workshop, because that's the platform. But it's the second Monday of the month. It's a divorce workshop for women. And this month, every month I change it up with different panelists. I'm always the divorce coach, but I'll have a different mediator or attorney, and then I'll have a financial expert to share information about the divorce. They're free. It's about a 2-hour workshop that you can join, and it's virtual. So sometimes people, and I do them every month. It's the same delivery, just different panelists. And I think the thing about that.
Can they get information at your website for that?
Yes,
Okay,
they can register for it on my website. I have an Eventbrite link that they can click on and go ahead and register.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Honestly, Kristen, for everything that you do, for your heart that's in it. I love when people are doing this because of their past experience. And I know that what you do for people is very powerful. So thank you. And even your kids see it, right?
Well, honestly, I didn't even get to say that, but I will tell you the passion for why I do what I do is because those kids are always watching.
Yes.
And we are modeling how to do hard things. And unfortunately, I modeled how to stay quiet for too long.
Yeah.
And I can see that in some of the challenges that they have been facing. So I really want to share that, modeling how to do the hard things. You will get through the divorce. How do you want your kids to say, Mom handled it on the other side of it? I think is really important.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, I always love to finish my podcasts off with a question. It's called, what does divorcing strong mean to you?
I think it means having the courage to show up for yourself and get the information so that you can now advocate for yourself, because that's not something some of us were very good at in our marriages. So when that is the case and you're on the other side of it, this is your opportunity, because this is the rest of your life. And I think it's really important to get that information, put that support system around you so that you can advocate for yourself and get what's rightfully yours. So that's, I think, what it means. And thrive again. I want to be thriving.
I know. I love it. I love it. You really can. I just always love that message, is that you can become stronger through this process. Just hang in there. And we're here to be your cheerleader. You definitely can make it on the other side. And then you got this whole beautiful life to live and create.
It's different than what we hoped for, but it's amazing. I mean, I'm so happy. So, and I want that for my people.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kristen, and for taking time to come meet with us today and share your wisdom with everybody. So make sure you reach out to her. Hold on just one sec. All right. Oh my goodness. Thank you everybody for joining us on another episode of Divorcing Strong podcast. I've been with Kristen. She is amazing. Kristen Becker. And love that she focuses on really getting yourself to that strong place, because that's the whole reason for Divorcing Strong, is because if we can navigate strong through it, then we can thrive beyond it. I just came up with that. That's good. That's good. Anyway, also, if you would like to join us on any of the platforms on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as all the audio, please go check out Divorcing Strong, and you can take it and make sure you share the episodes that you feel would be important to your family and friends. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Divorcing Strong podcast. This episode is sponsored by Only Subpoenas, where we make subpoenas simple, powerful, and 100% compliant. If you're having a hard time getting the information you need to settle for a fair and equitable divorce, let us help you. Whether you're an attorney or you're navigating divorce on your own, subpoenas can uncover the truth, secure the evidence you need, and level the playing field. To see how we can help, book an appointment by visiting our website at onlysubpoenas.com.